What's up, everyone? We are continuing the top 5 new brews for March of the Machines, and today we're looking at an Izzet deck. Let's take a look. Alright, folks, well, welcome back. We're at number 3 of the top 5 new brews for March of the Machine. This is an Izzet Burn deck. Pretty straightforward, right? So currently in standard, best of 1 and best of 3, there is a pretty solid mono red burn deck that has taken down a few tournaments and is contention for one of the best decks in best of 1 for sure. And based on the stats we see on untapped.gg, is doing pretty well in best of 3 also, maybe top 5 deck. So I think there's room for improvement with the new set coming out. And so I've taken that base, made some changes, and made it Izzet instead of just mono red. So yeah, let's take a look. So starting off, we have the staples that are in that mono red deck: Kumano, Monastery Swift Spear, Play with Fire, Lightning Strike. I guess that's about all that's in that normal mono red deck. Then we've thrown in some of new cards. Enra Spell Spear is the first new one. It's a 2-mana 2/2 Trample Prowess. And for 3 mana or 4 sometimes, you can flip it to this 3/3 Trample Ward 2 Prowess. So it gets double Prowess triggers. So this is really powerful if you can get this, especially if you've baited out the removal from your opponent already. That's a good time to flip this and get this kind of rolling. Each time you cast a non-creature spell, it's gonna go up to 5/5 for the first one, and then increase from there. So that's really strong, hard to deal with. The trample means it's can't really be blocked well, and the ward means it's hard to remove. So just a really strong creature in this sort of deck. We are also running some protection since we're in blue. So we have this shore up here as our protection of choice. And I'll explain a little bit more why I went with this one, but it's a solid giving your creature hexproof, pumping it up a little bit, triggers your prowess on your Swift Spear, on your Kenra, that sort of thing. So pretty nice. And then the other 2 creatures we added, Vindictive Flame Stoker. This is a decent 1-drop that is mostly there because it draws you a lot of cards in the mid to late game. And we also have the Third Path Iconoclast, which is a solid 2-drop that gives you a nice wide board, lots of creature generation for casting spells that you already want to cast. All right, and yeah, so then on top of that, we have a few new cards that I think are very interesting that will potentially make this deck even better than it is now. First one is Invasion of Regatha. This is a 3-mana battle for 5 battle counters. And it says, when it enters the battlefield, it deals 4 damage to another target battle or opponent. And it deals 1 damage to up to 1 target creature. So even if you're just playing this on turn 2, in a lot of the mono red decks and a lot of the soldiers decks, there are 1 toughness creatures. So things like Thalia, there's another soldier that's 1 toughness, there's a Phoenix chick. There's in mono black sometimes there's like I'm drawing a blank on the names, but there's a few Phyrexian creatures that are also 1 toughness. So it's not necessarily going to be dead doing that 1 damage to a creature. And then the other side of this is 4 damage to the opponent. So if you're playing a burn deck like this one, you're already burning the opponent out with your Kumano, with your Play with Fire, your Lightning Strike, and your Prowess creatures. So they're already going to be low for the most part. So 4 damage on turn 3 is no joke. But if you get 2 of these, you can potentially use them to help flip your battles over. And why do we want to flip it? Well, because the backside is really powerful. It is a 4/4 creature with prowess. And remember, we paid 3 mana. So 4/4 creature with prowess for 3 mana. And if a non-creature source you control will deal damage to a creature, battle, or opponent, then it deals that much +2 instead. So basically a Torbrand effect, doing +2 on all your damage to anything, except for planeswalkers, but that doesn't matter so much. So your Kumano, which does 1 damage to an opponent, is going to do 3 damage. Your Play with Fire is now going to do 4 damage. Lightning Strike is going to do 5 damage. And we're also running Stoke the Flame, so that's going to do 6 damage. And if you draw another one of these battles, now instead of doing 4 damage to the face or to a battle, you do 6 damage. And that's enough to instantly flip a battle. Plus just 6 damage to the face is like 1/3 of the opponent's life, so pretty likely to kill them at that point. On top of that, this creature has prowess, so even just casting one spell puts this at a 5/5. And that can get through just about everything in standard. Whereas like Shieldred was one of the big creatures that was hard to get through for mono red. Now you've got a 5/5 swinging in most of the time. So I shouldn't have too much trouble dealing with Shieldred in that sense. And yeah, it just seems really strong and a good way to finish out the game. So I think you'll want to spend a little bit of effort trying to flip this, either with using some of your burn spells or swinging in with one of your prowess creatures or something like that. And then finally, yeah, I kind of mentioned it a little bit, but we've got these Convoke spells, Stoke the Flames, and Zephyr Stinger. This is because our third path Iconoclast is going to be making a bunch of tokens, and wanted to make some good use of that to power out some of these late game finishers. On top of that, a lot of the issue that mono red has against the other mid-range or more aggressive decks is that their creatures are smaller than the opponents. So maybe you have your Swift Spear, it's a 1/2. Maybe you could get to a 2/2 if you cast something. You have your Vindictive Flamestoker, same thing, it's a 1/2. You might have a few tokens from your third path Iconoclast that can't really swing in because the opponent has some like 2/3s on the board. So that means they're sitting there doing nothing. You might as well tap them for the Convoke on these creatures, this creature and this spell here. On top of that, whenever you do Convoke with the Zephyr Stinger, then those creatures are going to get flying, meaning that they won't have to be sitting back doing nothing after that. Now they can start swinging in through the air. And then finally, the final synergy going on is because we picked Shore Up over Slip Out the Back, Shore Up has the last line of text on here that says, untap it. So you can do some pretty tricky sequences in combat where maybe you swing in with like the Kenra Spell Spear and the opponent tries to kill it with something. Well, you use Shore Up, you untap it, it gets hexproof, it's +1/+1 plus the prowess, so now it's a 4/4. And because it's untapped, maybe you can immediately cast Stoke the Flames because you just tap it again for the Convoke cost. And you know, there's plenty of other things like that. You might even just do it just for fun. Maybe you've got the backside of Kenra, and the Gitaxian Spellstalker, and if you have Shore Up and Stoke, I mean, you might just do that combo anyway, and not have to worry even if the opponent has removal or not, because it's just gonna pump out so much damage. Like one cast of this is gonna put you at a 6/6. And then if you're mid combat and you tap it again for Stoke the Flames, now this is going to go to an 8/8. So this is an 8/8 swinging in with Trample, and then you're dealing 4 damage to the face. That's pretty crazy, right? That's 12 damage. So it's not that hard to get. You just have to time your spells correctly and you know, be a little bit patient sometimes, not just swinging into the opponent's creatures and losing creatures. But it seems pretty powerful, and with the additional burn now that we have, these 2 extra spells that are good at burning the opponent's face, I think this deck is going to be pretty scary to deal with. It has quite a lot of reach, doesn't even need to attack in that much, and it could still kill the opponent very quickly. So yeah, that's the basic gist of it. And it plays very similar, like I said, to the mono red deck that is already very good and proven to be very good. So we'll have to see if adding the blue is worth it. Maybe it's not. Maybe instead we just add the Stoke the Flames in this battle and the Kenra, and we cut the blues and go more of the traditional route. But yeah, it's worth trying out. And so yeah, that's my Izzet Burn deck idea. Let me know what you think in the comments. And we're gonna have the next 2 top 5 brews coming out in just the next few days, and then on the 14th Don't forget, we got the early access event coming up live on Twitch. Make sure you check it out. If you miss it, we'll post some of those onto YouTube, but hope you can be there. All right, well, that's going to be it. So until next time, see ya.